Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, episode 225, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. We go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week and everything in between. So let's get started. Number 19 for me is Green Lanterns, issue 39. So, this is a book where I'm definitely debating on dropping. I've picked it up since issue 1, but I just haven't really liked the new direction that Tim Seeley's been going. I just was not invested in this villain character slash Planet Umbra. And that was a huge part of this arc. And I just feel like Jessica and Simon are not being focused on enough, and there's not enough character interaction slash development like we previously got with Green Lanterns with Sam Humphrey's run. So giving it one more issue just to see off another story arc and see how that starts, but if it's the same thing, I'm probably going to end up dropping Green Lantern. So that was my number 19, and I gave that 2 stars. Moving on to number 18, which is Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 299. I just wasn't really invested into the storyline for some reason. I feel like there's just a lot of characters they're trying to juggle. Wasn't so interested in the dialogue. I was kind of bored with the comic. We'll see where it goes. Also, I just feel like this is not Adam Kubert's best artwork, even though I think it's getting better than it was. I still feel like it's kind of average, and I think this book had better artwork. So, for me, Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 299 gets 2 stars, and that is number 18. Moving on to number 17, which is Batwoman, issue... For some reason that's reversed. Hold on. Batwoman issue 11. So, this is another book I've been debating if I should drop or not, but that one issue about her future got me to want to pick up more, so been sticking around with it, but I still feel like this book doesn't know what direction it wants to go in, and this is kind of evident with this issue. I know this is a guest writer, but, you know, they try to talk about Julia being this damsel in distress character in this issue. Then you still have this ex-girlfriend character, which isn't very interesting for me, at least. I haven't been invested in her character. And then still, with her family drama, you know, that's being referenced throughout every issue. They just don't know which side to go in. I don't know what direction this title is trying to go. So for me, Batwoman got 2.5 stars. The artwork was good. I enjoyed that, but still don't know where the story's going. So number 16 for me is Avengers issue 676. And once again, I will say this was better than the last issue. Last issue did not have a lot of story, but I liked the artwork better last issue than this one. What I did like about the artwork, though, was the classic feel of, like, old school Avengers when they're talking about Voyager's past. I thought that was cool. But the rest of it felt a bit rushed to me, and I understand it's a weekly book, but still, I feel like it could be a bit more neater. And the story doesn't have too much substance besides Voyager. I didn't really care about the villains and the world ending. I still feel like that this story arc really needs to find its voice past Voyager. But I did like the Voyager stuff when that was being showcased. So I gave that 3 stars. Now moving on to number 15. Which is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 23. Now this issue, if you like the cornier side of Power Rangers, you definitely get it here, where the villain is wrapping people in wool, and I guess that was fun. But I feel like this series is stalling up to Shattered Grid, which I believe is going to be issue 25. And a lot of it's just a slow burn. You know, Grace's motives is a slow burn. And we get Lord Draken by the end of the issue, but we already knew he was coming. So, just, like I said, a very slow burn. And also, I felt like the artwork was very stiff for me. Wasn't a big fan of it. So, I definitely feel like there's been stronger artwork for this book. So, overall, I gave Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 23 3 stars. Now, moving on to number 14, which is Super Sons issue 12. I felt like the story arc of the Super Sons of Tomorrow kind of ended on a disappointing note, where Tim Drake's storyline just kind of ends, and same goes for the future Teen Titans. It just completely ends, and you don't really know what you know, they were all about, and I feel like there's a lot more story to tell there. Maybe there will be more story in the future, but just kind of abruptly ends. But I did like the character interaction here, especially between Damian and John, and Damian and Superman. Damian kind of having John's back throughout this hard time of everyone blaming John that he's going to be this horrible person in the future. And Damian even tries to invite him onto the Teen Titans. They don't allow it, but he still tries. So I like their friendship here. You know, I'm not hardcore lover of their friendship usually, but I think it was showcased well here. And yeah, it just kind of felt like an aftermath issue, even though it was supposed to be a final part issue. But if you like these relationships, it's still worth picking up. So I gave Super Sons 3 stars. Moving on to number 13, which is Damage issue 1. Now this is an interesting issue because I think the artwork was gorgeous. I love the art, and this is a pure action issue, so it's kind of hard to rate this issue, but as a pure action issue, it's fun. You know, you get to see some really great artwork. You get to see that all this is within a minute time frame, and if you like the Hulk, you know, you get a lot of Hulk vibes. Story-wise, there's not much of it. You don't really know anything about this character besides that he's running and he's like the Hulk. And then he meets up with the Suicide Squad, and I guess he was kind of on a team that was like the Suicide Squad. So, problem with this issue, yes, it's a cool action-driven issue, but I don't know anything about this character, and it gave me nothing for me to want to pick up more. And that was definitely a big problem with this issue 1. So it depends what type of reader you are. I always kind of look more for the story, but if you're more of an art person, I think you'll enjoy this more, but I think this was a hard one to pick up, or at least give you, you know, a hook for issue 2. So I probably won't get issue 2, but Damage issue 1 gets 3 stars. And I guess I'm glad I tried it out, though, because I do like Tony S. Daniels' artwork. Now moving on to number 12, which is Venom Inc. Omega, issue 1. This is the final part to Venom Inc., and it's pretty much like everything else we've been getting with this arc. It's kind of mindless. There's not a lot going on plot-wise, but if you like these characters interacting, they're pretty fun to see, you know, interacting. Artwork is really well done, good action, and again, this is just kind of an action-driven issue anyways. Not a lot happens by the end. You probably didn't need to read this arc unless you're super fans of Venom and Spider-Man together. I wouldn't even say separately, but if you're a super fan, pick it up. If you're not totally necessary. The only thing you need to know is that Eddie Brock is gonna be a hero. And that's pretty much it. So Venom Inc. Omega, issue 1 gets 3.5 stars. Just kind of know what you're getting into, and you might have fun with it. Alright, moving on to number 11, which is Copperhead, issue 18, a little lower than the last issue, but still enjoyed the emotions here of Clara, you know, now revealed that she's not the mother of Zeke, and Zeke knows that. We don't really get the true reaction to it, but when the emotions are high, they're really good. And I like that it goes back to status quo by the end, where it's like, alright, she's the sheriff again, there's a problem that she has to deal with. The slower part is the supporting characters trying to get to her, and they spent a lot of time on that, so that's why it's a bit lower than what the last issue was, but still an entertaining read. So Copperhead, issue 18, gets 3.5 stars with very solid artwork throughout. So, like I said, I gave that 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 10, which is Superman issue 39. Some people might disagree and put this up higher, but I do still feel like it's a filler issue. It's a heartwarming filler issue of Superman going to this children's hospital and kind of giving them a day to be superheroes in a lot of ways. And it's definitely a touching issue, but it's also something we've definitely seen before with Superman. We've seen these heartwarming stories before, so overall I gave this 3.5 stars. Definitely, if you want a heartwarming storyline slash one-shot, pick this up. But if you're looking for more progression in the plot, this is not a necessary issue to pick up. So I gave that 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 9, which is Legend of Korra Turf Wars Part 2, which I'll definitely go more in-depthly on when I get the physical copy next week. I do want to do an in-depth review for this, because I did it for Part 1. But I feel like this is a little bit slower than the first one. If you're a Korra fan, there's definitely less scenes compared to the first one, but still really touching scenes between them. And by the end of the story, we get to see that Asami's kidnapped, and you just see kind of the passion that Korra has, and she just wants to save her girlfriend, and I enjoyed the storyline of building up the villain, even though I don't think this is the strongest villain we've seen in Legend of Korra by any means, and maybe that's the artwork, or maybe it's just the build up, but I do like the idea of these characters trying to get their turf, especially with the idea of the spirit world and the regular world still trying to find a balance with each other and how they could kind of live in harmony. So I find that interesting, and I feel like this story did a good job at balancing the supporting characters. We get to see Lin Beifong, we get to see Mako and Bolin, Tenzin, we even get to see, I forget her name, oh man, the assistant of that guy, I forget her name, but she's going to be president, or at least running for president of the city, so I thought that was cool. So there's small moments like that are good. I think Irene Ko's artwork has improved. It still feels a little bit softer than the actual series. I kind of wish it met the series a little bit more, but I do think it's a big improvement from part 1. So overall, Legend of Korra Part 2 gets 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 8, which is Batman issue 39, and this is a big controversial issue, you know? This would have been higher, honestly, if it wasn't for the ending. I actually really love the structure. I love the whole James Gordon thing. Felt like a movie, the way he's on the phone with Batgirl. He goes to the bat signal, and it's Wonder Woman. I really like that moment. And I like small moments with Cat and Bat, where Bat's like changing and he has this like medieval armor and pretty much she's laughing at him. So I like those small moments. But then when we get to the end and we realize that Wonder Woman and Batman have been in this world for 10 years and it looks like they're gonna kiss, it's like, oh, all that development with Cat and Bat are really gonna get a step back just for the sake of drama. I don't know if this was really needed, so I don't know how to feel about the ending. I wasn't really happy about it. Not saying that this issue was bad, because I do, again, like the structure, love the artwork by Joelle Jones, so that's why this issue is kind of hard to rate. But then you get to the cliffhanger, like, oh, I don't really know if I like the overall story. So Batman issue 39 for me gets 3.5 stars, kind of in the middle. I don't really know how to feel about it, so I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same about it. Now moving on to number 17, which is X-Men Gold issue 20. I enjoyed this issue more than what we've been getting. I liked, obviously, the Storm, Kitty, and Colossus moments where they're trying to survive this windstorm, the sandstorm, and I like that Storm couldn't use her abilities. I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, Kitty and Colossus trying to survive, and Kitty really doing all her power to make Colossus survive. And it kind of reminds you of their curse they kind of have. Every single time Colossus dies, you know, they're always in the wrong moment with their love. You know, sometimes they're with somebody else or someone dies, you know. You have Colossus dying or Kitty dying, and I think Kitty realizes that by the end here, and she asks Colossus, hey, will you marry me? And it's kind of like, all right, finally type moment, because this is a couple that have been together for a long time, but again, it was always the wrong moment that they were apart or together. So I definitely like the ending, and I like that storyline. Why this wasn't higher, I do think the artwork was an improvement from what we've been getting. Still not loving the coloring, it's still a little weird for me, but the other portion with ink and all of them in Nightcrawler definitely wasn't as interesting. It wasn't boring, but just wasn't as interesting as Storm and Colossus. And I feel like the way they break up this issue, they feel like everyone has to be on the page for this book. And I don't necessarily think that's true. I think this would have been a stronger issue if it was just Storm, Colossus, and Kitty, and the whole issue focused on them. But yeah, they just try to fit too many people in one issue sometimes. So X-Men Gold issue 20 gets 4 stars for me, though I still enjoyed the issue and definitely liked that ending. And overall, I think it was a big improvement. Now moving on to number 6, which is, maybe it's number 7. No, it's number 6, which is All New Wolverine issue 29. This was just a fun issue. I love the character interactions here between Doc and Gabby and Laura going up against the Hand and trying not to die and figuring out a way not to die, but also utilizing Deborah and Megan, Laura's family, as not damsel in distresses, but humans fighting with the X-Men. I find that really interesting, how Tom Taylor kind of balances that and why Laura needs her family. And all, you know, Doc and Gabby obviously are part of her family, but Megan and Deborah being part of her family also. So overall, I liked it. It's a really solid issue. There's times in the artwork, though, I kind of wish the facial expressions could be more poignant. They're a bit light sometimes, but overall, I do love the action for the artwork. So, All New Wolverine issue 29 gets 4 stars. Now it's number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Fence issue 3. I like this storyline. If you're a fan of sports stories, you'll enjoy this. I think it really hits the nail on the head on everything you want with a sports story. You're rooting for the underdog. You're seeing what the rivalry they're building it up between Sejay and Nicholas, and they develop the character as well here. You learn more about the sport. That way you feel engrossed into the sport, into that world. Overall, I thought it was a really solid issue, and it's getting me more interested in, I guess, the sport and the story. So I gave this one 4 stars, and the artwork is so well done. I love the expressions and the anime influence for this book. Now moving on to number 4, which is Strangers in Paradise XXV issue 1. Now this book I thought was a really solid start. I really enjoyed the mystery that they're building with the Parker girl in the beginning, where you don't know it's you know, a Parker girl at first. You play Terry Moore kind of plays with your expectations. You think the guy is kind of like the head of, you know, this agency type thing, and this is just his girlfriend, but you find out the girlfriend's kind of the one that's in the lead and the bad guy here. So she runs away, freaking makes a hole in her wall and runs away with this package. Let me show you that scene. I thought that was pretty badass. And then, you know, Kachu, she finds out about this and obviously wants to protect her family that she has now with Francine, and she's going to go on a mission and figure out how to stop this woman. And what I really liked about this issue especially, though, obviously just seeing Kachu and Francine get a glimpse of that, you know, laying down the mystery, but also connecting Terry Moore's other work and showing that this is a whole full world. They mentioned the explosion in Alaska, which is connected to Echo. So now you're wondering, and you kind of already know because Terry Moore has said this, how are they going to connect Echo, Rachel Rising, and Motor Girl to kind of make it one story? Especially because they're all kind of different genres. So really interested in that, how that's going to all connect. And I think Terry Moore fans who've read all his series are going to have a lot of pleasure reading this. But if you're just a Stranger in Paradise fan, I think you're going to enjoy this too. And of course, the black and white is just so great. I love the expressions here and just the tone of this book. And I just love the attention and detail Terry Moore puts into it. So very excited to see where this one goes. Thought it was a really solid start. So I'm going to give Strangers in Paradise XXV issue 1 4 stars, and that is number 4. Now moving on to number 3, which is Injustice 2 issue 18, which I enjoyed this issue. I really liked seeing, I like the Batman side a little bit more than the Superman side. I just feel like there's better character interactions there, but I like that they're going to the Fortress of Solitude, and I love the fight that Black Canary and Green Arrow has, and Black Canary's like, you died here, and it's going to be like, alright, I'm going to try not doing that again. And then they meet up with the Eradicators that they have to fight off, but the Kents, which is so emotional, where the Kents feel guilty, obviously, about Superman, but also kind of put the guilt on Batman, saying, you were his friend. Why did this happen? Why did you make this happen? But then there's other small moments I really liked, like Ace the Bat Hound. Batman's just trying to give this dog to people, and he tries to give it to Catwoman, and Catwoman's like, do I look like I'm a dog person? So there's that fun character interaction that I love about Tom Taylor's work. And then you have these emotional moments where the Kents even say, hey, yeah, we talked to Alfred about you guys. That was kind of a cute moment too, but then learning about Alfred, what's been happening, and then, of course, what's been going on with Superman. So, and the emotional, I guess, anger from Green Arrow, where he's talking to Batman about the wrongdoings that Batman's been doing. So, Justice 2 issue 18 gets 4 stars. Really enjoyed this one, and the artwork is just so good, so expressive. Love the coloring here, and it just really fits the video game style that they're known for, kind of the more realistic art style here that the video game has. So really well done action and facial expression. So Justice 2 issue 18 gets 4 stars. Now moving on to number 2, which is the Mighty Thor issue 703. Man, this was an emotional issue. We're really building up to who the hell's gonna die. And you have an intervention pretty much from everyone that Jane loves to say, hey, sit down, cure yourself from cancer, we don't want to see you die. And Jane has to make the tough choice and literally stares at her hammer and decides, alright, you guys go fight. I gotta fight for my life so I can be the best Thor I can be once I'm better. And then obviously in the other side, you actually have the war going on. It's gorgeous artwork, such attention to detail, the explosions, but even the emotions coming through with the hauntingness of Jane and how sick she is. It's just so good, the artwork, and the paneling is so well done here too. So just drop dead gorgeous artwork. But anyways, I do really like that they have the battle going on too, and you really don't know which Thor is gonna die. Is it actually going to be Jane? Is it gonna be somebody else? Which god's gonna die? So yeah, for me, I gave this 4.5 stars. Really well done issue, and when Thor focuses on Jane, I feel like it's at its best, focusing on that human and god-like element. Now moving on to number 1 for me is Kill or Be Killed issue 15. Really enjoyed this issue. It kind of brought everything I love about this book into one issue. Once again, the opening is so great, just getting into Dylan's head. What's his view of the world? And, you know, he's such a interesting character. He's a serial killer, but somehow Ed Brubaker makes you intrigued and even feel bad for him, which is definitely a hard job to do. And then you have just such expressive artwork here with the coloring and the pencils. It's so good to get into Dylan's head literally with this book. And then, you know, Dylan's trying to ignore the monster inside in this issue. He doesn't want to kill anybody. He just feels like, alright, it's part of my head, whatever. And he ends up going to this, you know, mental hospital, and he's building snowmans, and he's ready to say, hey, this is what's been going on. What's gonna happen? What is this monster gonna do to me? And then the awesome twist of the vigilante's still out there. So who's the vigilante? What's going on? And I love that Dylan's such an untrustworthy narrator, and the only voice we have for this book. You really don't know what's going on in this book. So really enjoyed this. You again go into Dylan's head. I think Brubaker narration for Dylan is so poetic, and you're just engrossed with the storyline. So even if he's just talking about anything really, things that might not even feel significant to the plot, it's still entertaining with Dylan's voice. So overall, Kill or Be Killed issue 15 gets 4.5 stars for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links to my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.